Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're bringing out the Glimmer machine and we are going to create a card with the Spellbinders Glimmer Kit of the month for December 2021. It's called Botanical Crest and it's so pretty, guys. There are coordinating dies that will die cut out both sentiments, and also it will cut out the center of the crest and then also the outline. So if you put them both together, you can create a real pretty wreath. But I'm just going to use the centerpiece for my project today. The foil this month is the beautiful blush, and I love this color. I love the softness of it. And we're going to be using this for our project. Let's bring in the quick trimmer and do a little trimming so we can do some foiling. My machine is over off to the right, heating up, and we're just going to trim down a couple pieces. The two sentiments in the Glimmer Plate set, one of them is Happy Birthday, and then the other one is perfect for the new year. It says, wishing you a year of magical memories. Moments, not memories, moments. Either way, I think it's pretty sentiment. I'm going to flip my top plate over and just trim about 1/2 inch off the top here. And that's the sentiment that we're going to use today, the Happy New Year card. Okay, that foil sheet's ready to go. I'll do the same with my sentiment. We're going to put the top back on. This is the Spellbinders Quick Trimmer, and it works perfectly for cutting your foils. Keeps a straight edge, and I believe it or not, you'll use less when you do this versus your scissors or your craft knife or ruler. I think this is a nice little tool. Okay. I think my machine is almost ready to go, so we'll put our Glimmer Plate on our base. But before we do that, I'm using a piece of Waterfall cardstock. I trimmed it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and we're going to do a hinge method because I kind of want a specific placement for this. I'm trying to figure out which way is the best. My panel is a little bit long, only because I didn't know if I wanted to add a little detail to the bottom, and if I wanted to flip it around, I can always trim that bottom length off. You'll see here in a minute. Let's flip this over, add our foil, kind of just let it drop, and then we'll pick this up, put it on our Glimmer machine. And you want to, when you do this, you want to put it face down. And then I added my shim plate and my top plate and a few extra paper shims that make my glimmering perfect for my machine. I think everybody's machine is a little bit different depending on how much you use it or how much pressure your rollers have. But I'll do the same thing with my sentiment. We'll just do the hinge method since we can. This one, I'm putting it on in the middle of white cardstock, and the area around it is kind of large, but I wanted it that way because I want to be able to make sure that it's centered in the middle of my crest piece. While my Glimmer machine was heating up, I went ahead and die cut out 3 sets of those tiny flowers in our Glimmer set this month. And you can see, I think the blue, the pale blue with this blush foil is so elegant and so pretty. And it foiled beautifully, guys. I'm going to do the same thing with my sentiment. Just put it face down, build my little glimmer sandwich. Now while that's heating up, I'll take my inside die, and we're gonna kind of just, I had it right now, but I'm gonna kind of twist it and turn it until it fits in the center. Now this I thought was really pretty, how they went around all the leaves in that little crest piece, but when it's die cut, it really does create a daintiness. Outlining those leaves just make it super pretty. So my sentiment is good to go. I think it foiled beautifully also. And Spellbinders does have a glimmer paper pack. I completely forgot about that, and so I just used my regular cardstock. But the Glimmer cardstock works fabulous too. Okay, that's all the foiling we're due, so I'll set this aside, make a little more room. Now we'll just punch out the center of our wreath or our crest, and you can see all the detail that this little die does on the center. Now if this does this to the inside, I imagine when it does the same thing to the outside. So the crest that it creates is so pretty. I think it's going to go perfect right above my sentiment. So let's bring in some white cardstock. I like to position it, add some adhesive behind it, and then place it on my card base. Since my panel is slightly smaller than my card base, I just wanted to make sure it was centered. And I think that's a great spot for it. Okay, next I'm going to be using my quick trimmer. You know what? I always use my quick trimmer for my foils. I've never actually used it for paper. I think when I first got it, I tried it and it worked great. But I'm going to give it a go. I am going to add a little adhesive behind my panel, and then we'll just add our plate and grab our paper blade, and then we'll do a little trimming. Before I commit to trimming, I do want to bring in a die set. This die set is really pretty, guys. It's the stacked decorative edges. This actually came back in May of 20, a kit, and so it was actually the small diamond club kit, but I love the borders in here, and I do believe that they sell these individually. But I'm going to use the lattice piece, and I'm going to put it at the bottom. So I was just measuring it, making sure that I can have enough room with my wreath, and then that lattice piece. So I just trimmed off a piece off the bottom, and it ended up being about a little over a 1-inch piece, but it cut beautifully. I'm going to go ahead and trim down my little lattice piece, and this is going to go, I'm going to center it, and then we're going to adhere that to the bottom of our panel here. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the meantime, I'm twisting and turning my panel. So this was not the original placement that I had, but that's the nice thing about squares. You can kind of twist it and turn it to the way you want it. Okay, let's trim off the excess. Next, I'm going to flip this around. We're going to add some foam adhesive behind it. And then I'm going to go ahead and remove one of my release papers and add some twine just above the seam of my Waterfall cardstock and my white cardstock. We're going to tie a bow off to the left. Just trim the tails here. Now the twine that I'm using, I got a lot of questions about. This is Spellbinders whipped cream twine. It is fabulous stuff, but they haven't had it in the shop for a long time, and I don't know if they're bringing it back. But if I can find a replacement for it, I think jute cord, a thin gauge jute cord would work perfectly for this too. If I can find it, I'll link it down below. But I want to go ahead and remove the rest of the release paper and add that to my card front. And then I have that little gap. I didn't measure too well, so it's an easy fix because I just trimmed down about a 1/4 inch strip of the Waterfall cardstock, and I'm gluing it to the very bottom. So it just looks like a full card front with that little white border. Okay, now we're going to zoom in a little bit. I have my glue out here, and then we cut 3 sets of those small flowers, and I'm going to be bringing in my toolkit. This is a Susan Tierney Cockburn toolkit. She makes the most beautiful 3D flowers, and this toolkit has a little bit of everything. It has a foam pad, and then it has the inserts, the stylus inserts that you could use for your tool-in-one. I already have an extra tool-in-one, so I have a stylus all ready to go. But I'm taking the foam pad, and we're just going to press down in the center of all of these flowers. It's going to cup them and just create some cute little dainty flowers to go with our background. Now after we have this done, I already adhered glue around my crest, and then I'm just adding a little glue to the tip of my tool-in-one, and then we're going to pick those flowers up and adhere them all around. Now ideally I would love to put some tiny gems in there, but these are so small that it would be the gems I was afraid would flatten these flowers. So instead of putting the gems in the flower centers, I decided to put the gems around the crest, because there's a lot of dotted detail with that foil, and I think just adding some sparkle with some, I'm going to use some pink Color Essential gems. I think it's going to be a nice contrast against the blue, but I think it just adds extra daintiness. I put a few on the inside of my crest too, along with the outside. But that finishes off my card today, guys, using the Botanical Crest Glimmer Plate set. It's the Glimmer Plate kit for November. actually, take that back, December 2021. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a lovely day, and we will see you again next time. Bye-bye.